Hey guys, welcome back to Gaming Solo. Today we're looking at a game that's been having rave reviews and it's a bit of a treat for us. We're playing a proper board game. We've got Yggdrasil for 1 to 6 players. And as I say, this game's got really rave reviews as a board game. But let's find out how it does in solitaire mode. Okay, so in front of us is the board to Yggdrasil. The most important part of the board is this chunk here. What it shows is the path to Valhalla, through Asgard to Odin's Hall in Valhalla. And here, these tokens are all the different monsters that are trying to attack, such as Loki, if the autofocus will work. Or we've got Set the Snake and things like that. And what you do is at the start of each person's turn, you take a card, so this shows Surt there, and move them forward 1. And each different villain has a power that they unleash when they move. So Surt, who we moved there, does... He is in charge of the giants, and so he unleashes them upon the world of man. Other things that, and all of them have different things. Loki unleashes ice giants, muck up the board. Hel kills off Viking warriors that you need to be able to attack them. Ragnarok will stall the game whilst you try and calm him down, and so on. If so many people, I think it's if 5 get past this point, you lose. If 3 get past this point, you lose. If 1 gets to here, you lose. You have to get through this entire deck without them doing that. So it's a game of time. You have to defeat them. You have to keep them at bay for a deck of cards. So, how do you stop them getting past them? Well, you fight them. But to fight them, you're going to need help. So, first things first, you as a player have these cards. Let's move around so I can see the thing. You have people like Thor, Odin, Tyr, and so on. And you've got a load of different characters, and they all do have a special ability. So it's things like, well, some of them can do extra moves, some of them are more powerful in attack, some of them get to roll the dice multiple times, etc. Really, really handy. So you each have a special move, basically. And during your turn, as standard, you have 3 actions that you are allowed to use in different areas of the board. So let's have a look at the areas, and then we'll get down to the fight how to fight at the end. So up at the top, first of all, we have the home of the elves. There are very limited elves. They are basically bonuses for when you fight. So if you want to take an action with the elves, you get to take an elf counter. There it is. My focus is not wanting to work today. Come on. Ooh. No focusing. But you get an elf counter, and you get to keep that, and that can help. Over here, this is interesting. This is almost a doomsday clock. That one of your turn, there are multiple different spots here that this little green man can work on. And if you take an action here, you can move him 1. And that's it. But once he's moved to a certain point, once you've moved him, you can then take a turn and restart him and take an action. Obviously, the further up, the more actions you've pumped into moving him up the board, the more powerful the action is. So it's things like you can take extra warriors, you can move back monsters, you can move back the enemy's 1, you can have a look at the deck and organise it, things like that. So he's really powerful, a great thing to use when when you don't know what else to do. Here we have the Land of the Dwarves, and it is a deck of cards, and basically these are weapons that will give you +1 to each character. So we have things like a sword that can destroy Loki. Oh, my focus is working now. We have the lance that can help destroy the snake, and so on. So with these also you get a +1 version and a +2 and a +3. So you can slowly make them more powerful. Really useful, again, for destroying them. And if you take an action with these, you basically take the lowest level card that you want to choose. The Ice Giants. Now, over here is a deck of Ice Giants. These guys basically muck up the board and help the enemies. So it's things like this one. Again, let the autofocus kick in. It says +1 Cert. It's not Cert, sorry, the snake. I can't remember its name off the top of my head. So that means that he's more powerful in a fight if this Ice Giant is available. And same with those guys. This blocks the dice. You can't use the dice. Not very nice to have that happen. That symbol is a symbol of one of the areas. So this is for gaining Vikings down at the bottom here. That means that it blocks off that area. You can't go there. You can't perform an action there. So it starts locking off the board. That's really not good. You'll also see that there are these symbols. So as you destroy the Ice Giants, you can start building these symbols. And when you get 3 in a row and get to build the entire rune, they do bonuses to the game, which is nice. So basically going to the Ice Giants is you fight them, much similar to the way you fight the main bad guys, and have to destroy them as they come out, so that you can't to try and level the game. Next up, the most important part, the piece that we use all the time, which is the worlds of the mortal realm, and the Valkyries. You have a little stand with some Valkyries printed on it. There they are. And they move across 4 islands. A white, a blue, a green, and a black. However, one island is regularly submerged. You have a little submerged token, which means you can't access it. You can move past it, but you can't access it. So that starts off on the black tile. And basically, during a turn, you can move the Valkyries once, left or right, it doesn't matter, and then, or just jump in where you are, go to the island that you're already on. And you have several bags, colour-coded, linked to the islands, and in them are a mix of Vikings and trolls, or giants, or whatever they are. And you get to pull out 3 and have a look. So I've jumped into the black bag and I've managed to pull out 3 Vikings. Those mean those are mine. I get to keep them. They are now part of my army. If you pull out a giant, you just have to put it back. So the more powerful, basically the more Vikings in a bag, the better. The more likely you want it. However, the Valkyries always start at the leftmost side, and the white world, it has the least Vikings and the most giants, and the black world at the opposite end has the most Vikings and the least giants. So you've got to have them moving to get your better stakes. Moving down the board, how do we are the areas that help you get those bags to your liking. First of all, we have the Land of the Giants with all these red tokens on it. These, basically, if you come here, you get to jump in a bag, you get to pick whichever bag you want, pull out 5 tokens, and if any of them are giants, you get to put them in this realm, so that you get rid of them, so that there are more Vikings in there than there are giants. Useful stuff. If you pull out any Vikings, you obviously put them back in the bag. Over on the opposite side here, we have Hell, the land of the dead. And it starts off with a handful, it starts off with 5 Vikings on it. And basically you can pick, when you decide to do an action there, you pick up up to 5 Vikings and put them in a single bag. And that's your action. Obviously, as Vikings die, they go to Hell. So that's how it replenishes. As you use them in battle, they will end up there so that you can then put them back. The final area is here. For solitaire games, it's completely useless. Basically, it's so that it's a trading point. You can trade your tokens, your elves and Vikings, with other players. So that if you've managed to accumulate loads and someone's not got any and needs them, you can give them to them. However, as I say, in a solitaire game, it's completely unnecessary. So there we go. So now we get to the battle. How do we fight a battle with the main warriors, with the main bad guys? It's very easy. It's a simple task. Basically, they will have a strength represented of where they are on the board. 5, 6, and 7, and 8. They also can get a +1 from the ice giants. But say they're in 5. We're going to fight Sir. He's there. He's strength 5. We then use our tokens. I'll just use some of these ones for example. So I know he's strength 5. I'm going to play 3 Viking tokens from my pile that I've managed to gain, and that is 3 damage. They will automatically go back to Hell. You then roll the dice and get, well, I got nothing there, or you can get 1. So let's say I got 1. So I did 3 and 1. So I haven't beaten him. You have to play the Vikings first. You have to make the gamble with them on how many you're going to play before rolling the dice. But you also have the elves. So I've got 3 and 1 off the dice, so that's 4. So I can then play an elf token to get 5. And then I can defeat him, and he moves back 1 space. And that's how you use, and that is a rough way of playing Yggdrasil. As I say, if a certain amount of enemies get to certain points, you lose. You have to defeat the deck to hold off the tide of enemies to win, and that's how you play the game. Yggdrasil is a really good game. It's great fun to play as a multiplayer, but as a one player it's a little bit broken. Because of the nature of the game, that it's quite ambiguous. You can do a lot of different things. There's no straight and dry path. On your own it can get a little bit confusing. You're never quite sure what you want to be doing. However, it is still fun. It's also really nice because you can sit and play it and learn the rules, so that when your friends come round, you know what you're doing. That's always a bonus. Instead of having to play on your own as multiple players, you can actually sit and enjoy it. But as I say, it's a good game, but not the best in one player. Pick it up, buy the game to play, but not on your own. It doesn't work nearly as well. A lot of the mechanics just feel a little weird. So I'd give it a 2 as a solitaire game. As a game, I'd give it a good 4 or 5. It's excellent, but only a 2. Only a 2 on solitaire mode. It's not really worth it. So anyway, I thank you for watching. Join us in part 2, where I'm gonna sit and have a quick playthrough for you. And thank you very much. I've been gaming solo.